Hey guys, so we are on part 2 as promised. Is there any point of making new art or new content in general? In this video I'll be talking about the various realizations I had when wondering if I should carry on creating new things. Why make my own when I haven't even seen all the things that are out there myself? So I'm going to start with a story. When I was around 13 years old, I had been drawing most of my life, and I eventually thought to myself, is there really any point for me to do this? There are so many drawings and paintings out there that I haven't seen. What's the point of making my own? Like, why would my own be special or something memorable to anyone? And if I weren't the one making it, why would it even be memorable to me? Now, I thought the same things many years later when thinking about making videos or anything creative really. I thought no one other than me will really see the work that went into this, and no one will remember this much, so what's the point? Like, I've seen so many videos and they were spectacular and I don't even remember them all. But as I thought about it more, I realized that the people who are close to me in some way might find my art a bit more interesting, maybe because they feel like they know me more. I think when we see something made by someone we know, we might appreciate it more because we feel connected to some way, even if the work doesn't have much to do with us or anything to do with us at all. It's generally more interesting to see, even if we personally wouldn't be that interested otherwise. If my auntie makes some sort of flower painting, I'll be curious to see the result of that more than a painting without the same added context. But more importantly, if no one from your family ever appreciates your art much, the people who would are the people who relate to your work and feel like they've received some sort of value from it. But to expect people to love what you make and do all the time is a standard we can't meet. Sometimes people will feel neutral or not really like what we make. But we can only strive to create art that is meaningful to us and enjoying the process and discipline to see something through to the end. That is not an easy task to do. In time, I essentially just learned to love the process of creating something and allowing myself to feel the happiness of doing that.
Because it is hard, we tend to procrastinate, we tend to just sit there and think, what else can I do today? And just basically never end up doing it.
And to actually feel like I finished something, because I don't really finish a lot of the things I start, to be fair. The point is I have something to look back to that I've actually completed. I didn't need to compare it to the thousands of artwork out there by other artists because everyone is doing their own thing. Everyone is adding their own style, their own message and their own spin on something, making it unique. Whether or not you're the only one who enjoys it is fine. To focus on seeing an artistic goal through to the end is the point. Now, another thing to consider when making something new is just think about all the portals you're opening. The fact that art can be produced without the many limitations of the real world, limitations like not having overwhelming power or influence to make something happen, or the fact that we conform to various natural laws, are in this case irrelevant. I can draw a dinosaur roaming around Mars, for instance, with no problem. Nowadays, we have the opportunity to create art digitally, offering more precision, consistency, and the means to modify things rapidly, and that really speeds things up. I can imagine that the people of the past could only dream about this kind of thing. So it is something to keep in mind. Yes, some mediums of art can still be expensive, but there are a lot of free softwares out there that isn't of much expense. And even if you can't afford that, to be able to start something with pen and paper is something everyone can do. Everyone could be an artist in that sense. As time has gone forward, art done by hand retains its character that will never die. It's just slower to do overall. We can choose to explore making things in that free space of potentials. That is probably the best thing. Art helps us enjoy our lives more. That is another thing to consider when creating art, even if you are another speck in the expanse. People who offer something valuable and very different to us can still take us to their worlds through their art. Think about the example of Rick and Morty. The mad scientist trope is one that has been repeated many times, but in each episode of the show there is a chance for a new world, a new crazy fucked up scenario, and I love it. Having many worlds to explore physically and through the imagination is a wonderful reason to look forward to life and look back at it in a good light. Artwork expresses what our imagination holds into something shareable. We can experience thoughts and emotions through art. It makes us feel more connected. As humans, we often share or even struggle with the same things. In our minds, we may think the same things or have similar creative ideas as someone else without even knowing. Somewhere across the world, eventually someone might be expressing these thoughts through their art. But you wouldn't know unless you happen to stumble across it, or meet the person and they tell you about it. This is where the internet is a great thing. Without having access to the internet, so many of us would not be able to speak to each other at all. We have two mediums, the online world and the outside world. Both landscapes are so much better from our unique expression. When we go outside, we may see a statue or some kind of painting on the wall. It is really nice. It adds to the beauty and memorability of a place. Maybe you don't even notice it much for years, but when you move city or towns, you kinda notice it ain't there anymore. And when you look back at that place in your memory, you get a bit of nostalgia and remember that painted wall you always used to pass on your way home. And now, the last point to wrap up this video is realizing that ultimately our time is different to the past. In the past, you only had access to what you could acquire. Now we have only so much time on spending on what we choose out of all of our choices. Oh, I don't know if that was a mumble fumble of words, but that's probably the best I can put it right now. So people in the past would have only a few books, some paintings, and they would read the same books over and over again, see the same paintings over and over again too. We have an amount that we don't have enough time to look through, even if we lived thousands of years. It's not that the previous eras had less art or artists, it's just it was circulated much less, and art couldn't be shared to so many people at once. This is just a case, so really there have always been this many artists. So don't let the thought of being one of millions stop you from making something new. Make something and enjoy it for yourself, because chances are many people will enjoy your work too, for the brief time that they experience and remember it. Maybe in the minds of a few you will be remembered more clearly and longer, but don't worry because you'll never know anyway. Make art and love it. I think forms of art are essentially courage, and that is the quote this video will end with today. I do appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. Subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this.